Hello, today I'm going to be doing a reading for another new client of mine named Josh, and Josh has requested a Operation 1 of the opening of the key. Now, I'd just like to remind you from the get-go that the opening of the key is something that is very mercurial in that it does not always have a very obvious sense of timing. It's difficult sometimes to determine when the events it's talking about are happening, particularly with the first operation, because the first operation is supposed to talk about the situation as it is now, how it has gotten to the current place. So it sort of gives us a slight pointing in the direction of the future, but it usually tends to show us how things are leading up to, or have been leading up to, the present. Okay, so for Josh, your significator, I've chosen the Knight of Wands because you told me that you were an Aries, your birthday being April 3rd. So the Knight of Wands in this deck technically is meant to represent Sagittarius, but for my personal system, I kind of like to use this as opposed to the Prince of Wands, because those are the only two choices, really, you being a male. And I feel, the Knight of Wands is more like a cardinal sign of the zodiac, which is what Aries is, whereas the Prince of Wands is Leo, which is a fixed sign of fire. So anywho, this is just, jargon to explain why I am picking your significator for this, even though I don't really know you. Okay, so the Knight of Wands represents an individual who is usually, well, Crowley describes him kind of like a revolutionary type of person, but very self-motivated, very active personality, someone who puts a lot of force and vigor into something at the beginning, sometimes, or rather oftentimes, losing interest quickly after it's begun. They don't have a lot of sticking power necessarily. But they're generally very bold people, courageous people, willing to take risks, sometimes emotionally explosive or high pressure, but generally not necessarily callous or cruel people, though they don't necessarily, at least, again, the description of this card says that these people sometimes can be very ruthless in getting what they want. So obviously, none of that necessarily has to, or some of that does not necessarily have to apply to you, but that's what the card means traditionally for this deck. Okay, so we are going to begin by invoking, as always. Okay, now we're going to do some quick shuffling. I just finished invoking. Okay, moving right along, I just shuffled for several minutes, trying to edit this so it's as short as possible. And now I'm going to cut into the 3 piles. And then again into 4 piles. Okay. I'm trying to make it so you can see everything here. Okay. So in your fire pile, which is the pile of basically work endeavors, your creative side, your sense of motivation, your ambition, you have the 5 of Cups, and it seems either you are coming out of a period of being depressed about what it is you do or something like that, or your career path. In general, you perhaps have been suffering from a lack of motivation. a contempt for basically what it is that you have to do. Your water pile, which is more about emotions and connections with other people, you have the universe. And so it seems that that is taking a bigger precedence over your life right now, that you are dealing or trying to think less about work and more about your personal happiness, as well as your social network, I guess. Perhaps your friends and family are becoming a greater focus for you at the moment. Your air pile, which is usually a pile of problems and conflicts that may be arising, is the Three of Cups, which is interesting, given the fact that the Three of Cups is a positive card and the air pile is traditionally seen as more negative. And but it could be that you are having problems perhaps meeting someone that you can connect with, or meeting people in general might be problematic for you at the moment. You could specifically, or more specifically rather, be in some kind of relationship. It does not necessarily have to be romantic, but some kind of bond with someone that has a lot of ups and downs. It's sort of like it's good sometimes and can be very pleasurable, but there's a lot of bad water in it too. And then lastly, your earth pile, which is the physical end of it, the material end. You have the Ace of Cups. So it's very interesting. It seems to me that it's telling you that the situation, no matter what it is certainly emotional because of the preponderance of water. You have a lot of water and earth here, but mostly water. And so perhaps you are looking for, or have already made manifest in some degree, a new, more romantic relationship with someone fresh. The Ace of Cups usually represents new feelings of closeness or love with others, or new sources of happiness. Excuse me. And so in general, I just see that you are turning to more material sources of satisfaction. And this could either be, it could be just about anything, going on a shopping spree or something if you're that kind of person, or seeking out new sexual partners or anything like that. Anything that is carnal, that is a source of pleasure. It could even be something very simple like cooking more. Everyone's different, and I try to make it as open to interpretation as possible. So basically, I see that overall you are experiencing an emotional crisis of sorts, and you're trying to sort it out by turning away from what you've been doing, perhaps, and moving into a different sphere. So just to guess where your significator is, I'm going to start with the water pile. And of course we are looking for the Knight of Wands, and he is not here. Perhaps the air pile makes sense. And you're not in the air pile. Well, let's try earth. I just don't feel like you're in the fire pile for some reason, and it looks like you're going to be in the fire pile. You are in the fire pile, of course, as soon as I say it. Okay. Well, that's fine. Then, essentially, the idea is that the hub of your problem is just overall kind of depression to some extent. It's not necessarily a heavy sense of depression. It's not a kind of like, I don't want to leave my house kind of depression that some people get. It's more just, as you might be able to see, the card is called disappointment, and I really think that that's a perfect word for it. It's more just a letdown about perhaps expectations you had for something didn't work out the way you wanted it to, And being in the fire pile, it might be something that you yourself put a lot of effort into. But we'll see. We'll see what it says more in depth. So now we're going to spread it on out. And again, I apologize if you can't really see anything clearly, or all of it clearly anyway. Hopefully you can at least follow along. Okay. There we go. And here you are, right here. This is your significator. Again, just the card that represents you specifically in the reading. Okay, so here is your string. And again, we're going to start here. And again, you just to reiterate, it re-emphasizes the idea of looking for a more substantial relationship with someone. I think that you are looking for someone who's going to match with you better. There's a lot of ideas of kind of balance and harmony surrounding you, and I think I think basically perhaps what you've been recovering from, or what you've been disappointed with, is the lack of cohesion you have with perhaps other partners that you've had. Either they don't quite line up with your expectations, or they don't have the same desires that you do. They don't have the same goals perhaps that you do. And so these are all problems, and so you're trying to make it work within your means. So you have a lot of, you're a very passionate person too, and perhaps this is also the problem, that you're not finding someone who's quite on the same level of intensity that you are. I think you want someone who, again, shares the same goals with you and is a very strong-willed person like you are, but is also pretty successful and attractive, I think. You kind of are aiming for a power couple type thing. At least that's what I think, based on what you've got. And in general, this is something that you are putting a tremendous amount of energy into, and perhaps even a lot of sticking power to this. Kind of like you don't want to give up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so it seems that you make some connections with people, but they're not quite as strong, again, as you would like. It seems that all that effort you put into it is not reciprocated, and either the other person wants to stay alone, and of course this could be with a person specifically. Perhaps they just want more alone time, and they're not really into having a relationship right now. But in general, it seems like you make more like a friendship with this person, or the people that you have been setting your sights on. You make more of a friendship with them. It's more platonic than romantic, and this is a source of disappointment again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It seems like it could be with one person specifically. It seems like a male figure, but it could be a woman who has a kind of masculine personality of sorts. But it seems mostly with this male-like figure who is very, they're a very, I almost want to say, powerful person. They do represent that kind of success that you're looking for in a partner, and they could even be kind of like someone in charge at what they do. They could be like a boss or a supervisor type figure, and they're a very practically minded person. They're not particularly creative. The energy from this person is not. I think they're more excited about their career and monetary success than they are about a relationship or emotions. And being an earth sign type of person, if they are a Virgo, like it seemed like it would indicate, or a Taurus or Capricorn, I would suggest either Taurus or Virgo here. Provided they're like that, those people have a very difficult time expressing emotions, and it can be very difficult to try to court those kinds of people because, just saying from experience, I'm a water sign with fire tendencies, and it can be very difficult because you want them to move somewhere. You want them to, and not literally, but you want them to, you want to energize them, and you want to goad them into action, and they usually take a really long time. They like to do things at their own pace, and I do feel like this person is a pretty independent person naturally. They don't necessarily like attaching themselves to other people. They enjoy their independence and the freedom and control and kind of prosperity that gives them. 2, 3. Though I think they are generally kind of interested in you. Just the way that they're facing you. You're both facing towards each other, and so there is, like, at the same time, a good possibility that it could develop into something, but as of now, it seems like it hasn't gone very far particularly quickly. So next we get the Seven of Wands, and yeah, this is saying the exact same thing that I was just saying about the nature of earth signs. It's like no matter how much effort you put into it, it seems like you've exhausted what you can get out of your relationship with this person. It seems like they're always only going to be a friend, and it could even be that other friends of this person have told you that it's not going to work, or some kind of influence is telling you that it's pointless to keep going with it, that you have reached the limit of what you can get out of it. And at the same time, though, you still really want to try because, you do feel like this person represents what you want, and you don't necessarily want to let that go. And I understand that, trust me. But it leads back to the Ten of Cups. So it seems that the result of all that effort, once again, is sort of just a good friendship that, the Ten of Cups is such an interesting card. I don't know if you do tarot at all, but the old weight definition of the Ten of Cups is, really, really positive happiness, kind of idealistic fulfillment of all one's desires. And in the Crowley deck, it really doesn't have that connotation because he looks at it more from a Kabbalistic perspective. Being the number 10 is on the brink of change. And so, it also is Mars in Pisces astrologically, and Mars and Pisces don't get along. If you think Mars is the god of war, Pisces, the fish sign, is more fluid and dreamy and idealistic and intuitive, that sort of thing. Those two energies don't get along, and Mars is a catalyst for change. And so whatever idealism Pisces builds up is eventually broken down by just circumstance, really. And I think that that's kind of what the Ten of Cups is getting at in this deck. And in your situation, I think you're trying very hard to build it into something, and to motivate this person. I see you putting in all the effort, and they do not quite want to budge the same way. And if they do, they're going to do it very, very slowly. They are much more concerned with practical things first and foremost. And it can be so frustrating. I have been there more times than I would like to say. And it can be very difficult. And it can be a downer big time. It sort of makes you feel like, what more can I be doing? And it really isn't a case where there's more you can do. Again, it's sort of telling you that you have kind of exhausted what you yourself can do. At this point, if this person also wants to be something more with you, it really is up to them. And, you know, I almost think that they feel that you're rushing it too much. I think they feel that you're going too fast and that you're putting a lot of pressure on too soon. Perhaps the best thing to do is to back off a little bit, because again, they don't want to be pushed too quickly. And they're afraid of failure themselves. They're actually probably, like many earth signs, they're also pretty vulnerable, and so that's also why they don't like to open up particularly. They're afraid of repeated failure. I don't know if this is also a person who has had a bad, history of relationships or something like that, but they don't really trust relationships particularly well. Although they are kind of tired of being alone. Perhaps they've also been single for a long time. I don't know. And but that being said, they still seem to want what they want right now is only that kind of Ten of Cups friendship like thing. They don't seem to really want anything deeper than that. And you want this kind of really romantic, really powerful, strong connection with someone, not necessarily even a relationship, though I do think that that's what you're going for. But you want something that's kind of like earth-shatteringly incredible. And that's not what this person is willing to give right now. Now, to pair from you, again, it's saying that you've been having what you want, again, is a powerful connection with someone that works very well, someone that you work well with, but that is perhaps difficult for you to find. It says that you've, and I don't know if this is true, but what I'm getting is that you've been having perhaps some goal-oriented issues. I don't know if you've been kind of trying to figure out the next step in your career or something like that, but it seems that you've been having some difficulties there. Another way of reading it is just whatever emotional goals you set your sights on, they don't really come out well, but that's kind of just a reiteration of what I've been saying. Again, you have lust and disappointment paired together, which is interesting, and it's almost like you get yourself into trouble with the amount of energy you put into it. Again, you're the type of person, being an Aries, who likes to, or tends to, not necessarily likes all the time, but tends to go full throttle at first, and burns out really quickly. And I think that's what it's saying here, is that you tend to get yourself into trouble by doing that. Perhaps you fall head over heels really quickly, and that is emotionally dangerous for yourself. At the same time, you seem to surround yourself with successful people. Also, you surround yourself perhaps with equally motivated people. At least that's what I'm getting. And again, I'm not psychic. Some of this could be really wrong, but so bear with me. But it seems to me that your friend group is very successful generally, very independent people, and perhaps even really attractive people. And they could be fairly well-to-do. And so I think that might also be part of why you aim for kind of like a power couple thing. It's you kind of feel like you can't, it would be a waste of time to do anything else. Now, here's your perspective other, it seems, and again, it says they've been alone for a while, or they're a loner by nature. They perhaps are doing some things on their own time. I don't know if they are themselves recuperating from something. I I don't know if it's anything particularly serious, but they could be having health concerns of some kind. I don't really necessarily get that, but in some ways they're an isolated person, and they are protective of themselves, and in some ways I want to say they doubt their own authority, or their position of power is seemingly in jeopardy. I don't know if this person is also kind of going through some job-related problems. Again, I mentioned before that he might be some kind of business person or manager, some kind of person in charge, and I don't know if that's something that they are concerned about being. They feel uneasy about whatever their sense of independence, their sense of power is. They have the emperor paired with the moon, and it's just such a conflict of interest there. It's a big tension for them. So they don't really want to put much effort into anything else. They sort of want to stand still with other people, particularly you. Again, they're the type of person who really is practical before they are emotional, and I think they're not allowing themselves to think outside of any boxes until they have squared this away. So I don't know if there's some kind of idea of attack in these two cards that are paired. The Knight of Swords and the Seven of Wands. And it could represent you to some extent, again, pushing very hard to make it happen. It could also represent the Knight of Discs here, your interest, coming under fire for something by a person who is kind of seizing opportunity. They might be someone is being really aggressive towards them for some reason, but it seems that it's going to work out. That this person's job, or whatever it is that they're concerned about right now that isn't letting them branch out, it seems like it's going to fix itself, that it's going to be okay, that and maybe even this is where the situation is now. Again, at the beginning of this I mentioned how chronology for this is very difficult to determine, but perhaps even currently it's in the process of getting better, that this person is feeling more solidified, or is going to feel more solidified or established in this position. They're going to get maybe even a project done that they've been working on, and it's going to go pretty well. So that might make them feel a little more comfortable. Again, I want to mention that this person does have some interest in you. It's not that they're totally uninterested. I just think right now, kind of getting a feel for their energy versus your energy, I think the first thing that they want from you is to back off a little bit, to not be quite so exuberant with your effort. Perhaps part of them finds it endearing, but another part of them finds it stressful a little bit, and particularly because they're trying really hard to be focused on their monetary situation, their career, that sort of thing, and their personal success. So again, there's kind of a lot of information here. It is kind of giving you a warning to, in general, not put all your eggs in one basket so quickly in life. I know that's difficult being an Aries. It's very hard. But that is, perhaps one small piece of advice here. It does not necessarily, say to give up entirely. If you really are interested in this person, it might be something that you just need to work on with more time, and really allow yourself to become that person's friend first. I think Earth signs tend to be people who who like to be friends with the people that they're interested in first and then take it somewhere to a different level, they really are shy about taking it too quickly in any direction other than something that's safe and not really committal, basically. And that's not, I don't mean to say that earth signs are flaky, it's just earth signs like security, very much so. And they don't like taking risks, and that's really all it is to it. Whereas you are a risk taker. And that, again, is not necessarily to say that you two are incompatible, because I do think that, you are compatible, and you feel that you're compatible, and maybe you even feel like this person would kind of balance you out a little bit. And I do think that that's true, that you would be good for each other. You both have a similar energy, just at different ends of the spectrum. It's just, take it easy, be patient, and I think it will probably, I don't know, again, this is only the first operation, but I think if you kept going with it, you could conceivably see some further progress with it. But don't get your hopes, don't get your hopes too far up. Be willing to accept that you might just end up being this person's friend. And yeah, I mean, I don't mean to disappoint you in any way. So I mean, it is sort of a mixed bag. It kind of could go either way, based on what I see here. It really depends on that person's situation and what becomes of that. Okay, I hope that this was accurate, that this was correct. Again, I know very little about you. I know nothing about your situation, so I do hope that this made sense to you. If you have any questions, by all means, please let me know. If you have anything to add, say, feedback, I would love to hear it. I love to know whether or not it made sense. That's important, obviously. And if it didn't, I am happy to try again, or maybe even do something simpler for you. Okay, thank you very much for your reading, and I wish you all the best with everything. Thank you so much, and take care.